I won't say that the journalists and the media should hope on focus only on AI to regain this level of trust. I would say that AI could be used, but it's more global.
Generative AI is capable of producing text and images following a simple request in everyday language. That does raise genuine concerns of authenticity, especially if real world captures are being mimicked or actual people are being impersonated. What are the implications of generating AI on Pakistan's media landscape?
They want to control information, they would like to control the technology. The problem is that we have actually very few AI providers in the world. We have, of course, OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and Meta who are the most famous, but at least maybe we have 100 of generative AI algorithm on the market.
Assalamu alaikum and hello. I am Faryal and you're watching New Wave Global. Journalism is in a state of flux as AI-supported solutions lead to new forms of communication with global reach that is greater than at any point in human history. But as disinformation and misinformation also storm our screens, they affect the way we interpret news, making news and information media somewhat contentious. While according to surveys carried out by Gallup International and Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, and I quote from one of the studies, a strong supply of accurate, independent, well-funded journalism remains critical, challenged by low levels of trust and declining engagement. As we delve into this, I'm joined by Vincent Berthier, head of the tech desk at Reporters Without Borders. He joins me here from Paris. Reporters Without Borders is, of course, an international non-governmental organization focused on safeguarding the right to freedom of expression, information, pluralism, and independent journalism. Vincent, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Artificial intelligence simplifies journalists' jobs, reduces time wastage, and makes news production procedures more efficient, increasing productivity. AI tools imitating human intelligence are used in newsrooms around the world to transcribe sound files, summarize text, etc. Yet technology works like a double-edged sword, more so perhaps in journalism. Will AI somewhat help restore the low level of public trust in media that these surveys that I just mentioned, what they point to, or do you think technology will enhance this existing mistrust?
Well, as you said, it's a double-edged sword. And so, of course, there is plenty of opportunities for media and for journalists to use AI in a virtuous way, to be more accurate, to be more fast on disseminating and producing information, of course. But these advantages will also benefits to their opponent, to propagandists and to disinformation campaigns. So I won't say that the journalists and the media should hope on focus only on AI to regain this level of trust. I would say that AI could be used, but it's more global. It's also not only, and actually it's not only up just to the media, it's also up to the society and how we live together and how we want to get more informed.
Yes, and generative AI it's capable of producing text and images following a simple request in everyday language. That does raise genuine concerns of authenticity, especially if real-world captures are being mimicked or actual people are being impersonated. I think that's where the real problem arises. What are the implications of generating AI on Pakistan's media landscape, considering the media ownership trends here? There's corporate media ownership, and then there's state media, and then there's state interference in private media. Media is controlled, voices are muted here, journalists are abducted. Under such circumstances, how would authorities here How do you think they would react to AI and algorithm-generated content if content is written by an AI program and spread by bots on mainstream or alternative media? Who do you think will authorities in countries like Pakistan, who do you think they will hold responsible?
Well, for this kind of authorities, the temptation is really high to control the technology, of course. Like they want to control information, they would like to control the technology. The problem is that we have actually very few AI providers in the world. We have, of course, OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and Meta were the most famous, but at least maybe we have 100 of generative AI algorithm on the market, and maybe 20 able to generate credible text. So of course, the temptation for authorities is to control this kind of technologies. And I think that they won't be really happy for independent media to be able to spread accurate information if possible, because we don't know yet actually if these tools could be used to produce content. So yes, there is a kind of risk because you don't have that much AI providers on the market, and so it could be quite easy by law or by force to control them and to for them to follow some rules who could be against the interest of free press.
What about the ethical concerns? They highlight the need for continuous supervision of AI operations. There should be a clear line between authentic versus synthetic content. What are the ethical guidelines for AI-generated content? Are they the same as conventional journalistic ethics? Should AI systems follow the core values of contemporary journalism?
Well, of course, AI is a kind of new frontier for journalism, and yes, there is strong ethical guidelines that are actually leading the journalistic principles, and these journalistic principles should be designed in within the AI systems that journalists use to produce information. Without this design and these guarantees, actually, journalists could never know if the AI system they are using to produce or distribute or analyze information is really efficient and following journalistic principles.
And I think what is very important is that the public must not be misled. Otherwise, I think ethical concerns about creating AI content will persist and perhaps further take down the level of trust. We have to see what the promises and what the perils are. The Paris Charter on AI and Journalism, it was launched by your organization, RSF, last year. Tell us what recommendations were made in the charter.
Well, the charter has 10 strong principles. The goal of the charter is to help any medias and journalistic medias all around the world to use AI and while being sure that they're still doing journalism with AI. And because we are talking of the line between synthetic and authentic, of course, there is a strong principle saying that for every media, they draw a line between what has been generated by a machine and what has not been generated by a machine, what has been made by a human journalist. And of course, it's very important for journalists, and I'm thinking, of course, about the picture, to say, okay, I've taken a picture and this is a real picture. It comes from real life, it comes from real light, and it's what the reality looks like. It's not generated by Midjourney or DALL-E or whatever. It's come from a journalist on the field who wants to document the reality.
And I was going through the charter, and I think it also emphasized the importance of human agency, the fact that human decision making can't be taken over completely by AI, and overall long-term strategies and editorial policies should certainly involve human agency. Among questions that were raised at the recently concluded International Journalism Festival in the Italian city of Perugia was obviously one regarding disinformation. There were also questions regarding AI's role in assisting newsrooms or transforming them completely. What is your take on how far do you think newsrooms should go in the adoption of AI?
Well, it's not up to RSF to call media to innovate to use a tool or not. But what we say is that if you want to innovate, if you want to use AI, you should do it in order to strengthen the trust between you and your audience. You should do it in order to be more efficient in fighting disinformation and propaganda, because it's one of the journalist's key mission. And of course, you should do it by following strong ethical principles. We don't know if AI would be the game changer everyone is talking about, but we think that it could be actually, and it could be very interesting for media and for information, because what we are seeing right now, for example, you see that OpenAI is trying to make deals with some media providers, is that journalistic data, journalistic content are gaining a very high value on the data market, because all these AI providers, they want to sell more service, more products to get information on the real world. And actually, right now, the only industry who is providing such data is the media industry.
And I was really shocked to read somewhere that according to one estimate, AI has created as many images in 1 year as the whole of journalism photography managed in 150 years, which is incredible. Disinformation and deepfakes, since we are talking about that, they are also a part of global election campaigns, as 2024 we know is the year when many countries are going to go to the polls. India is already going under is undergoing the election. Currently, we saw two videos going viral. There were two Bollywood actors who were apparently criticizing Modi and endorsing Congress, which were obviously fake. And also, there have been instances in February election here in Pakistan where the campaign saw a lot of deep fakes. How do you think should journalists warn against suspicious campaign material and messages where AI is used to meddle in elections?
Well, with the waves of deepfakes, and especially in the context of election, the trap could be of fact-checking every picture that you've seen on the internet. It's almost impossible. Fact-checking is not powerful enough to fight such a fight. No, what we suggest, and it features on the Paris Charter on AI in journalism, we suggest that journalists and media should use tools, authentication standards that say that every picture they have taken, every movie, every reporting they are filming comes from real real devices, and is not AI generated. Because there is few standards right now that allow this. The problem is that they all suppose that the author of the picture wants to flag it as synthetic. And of course, if you want to do a deepfake, you won't do that. So there is only journalists who have interest on flagging their production as authentic. On the other side, we ask to the platforms, especially social networks, but also search engines, to, in the context of election and when a user is looking for information on politics, for example, to say, okay, if you are interested in such a content, we will show you only authentic pictures.
Certainly, AI's influence in electoral dynamics can't be overlooked. And we know that we already had pre-election promises, fake pre-election promises and proclamations of politicians. And as if those weren't enough, now we have this deception of this deluge of deep fakes coming up as well. Talk of the social media platform X being banned in Pakistan. It has been banned for quite some time now. There's talk about regulating the platform because it is felt that it is a threat to national security and public order. Now, social media might be a symptom, but it's certainly not the cause of the various persisting insecurities or disorders. So I think banning X in Pakistan has set a very dangerous precedent, and it can encourage successive governments here to continue this sort of camouflaged censorship under the garb of upholding national security. What is your take on this situation here regarding the ban on X?
Well, about the ban of any platforms on any countries, we advocate for a very transparent and independent process, juridical process, because banning the platform should be the last extremity you should follow. Because of course we think that platforms have a responsibility on how they spread content online and how they contribute to shape opinion and to provide information to anyone. But before banning a platform, because it doesn't matter what you think of Elon Musk, and honestly, we don't really like what he's doing at X, formerly Twitter. But the problem is that today, right now, platforms are shaping the public square online. That's a fact. Like everyone is getting informed, and if it's not X, it's Facebook. If it's not
Yeah,
Facebook, it's Instagram,
it's
etc., etc.
everywhere.
So
Yeah.
of course, you can just say, okay, go away. Okay, you have to say first no before, because there is problem with X. Unfortunately, we see that there is a rise of disinformation, disinformative content, of extremists, of hate speech, and so before being banned, this platform should be regulated. And if somehow they refuse to follow the law with a fair law, a law who allow everyone to be able to speak, who allows everyone to be able to share trustworthy information, then there you have to take your consequences. But it should, in the best case, in any scenario, this could happen actually, because banning a platform is never the solution on regulating the platform.
Yes, and paradoxically, I would say censorship, it sort of acts as a catalyst for disinformation, because this control enables dominant false narratives to flourish unchallenged, and there is no sort of expert journalistic fact checking, because if this information, like you just mentioned, it is being disseminated
Exactly.
on WhatsApp, which is
And if I may add, it's not up to the government of the state or the authority to decide what is information and what is not. This is why we need a third party tool. We need civil societies, because it's impossible for a government to say, okay, I will ban this platform because this message is spreading online and it's not true. Well, this is not how information works. People are able to share information, and no one at the political scale, at the government, no authorities should be able to say what is wrong and what is not.
right. In Pakistan's context, prevailing attitudes and underrepresentation of female journalists in newsrooms, it will hinder women's perspectives on AI-driven changes in journalism, while additionally, women journalists might be dealing with a double whammy of AI-produced disinformation and cloning due to their vulnerability as a gender. How do you look at this? Do you think women will face the double whammy of AI disinformation and cloning, women journalists?
But whether they are journalists or not, women are traditionally hit twice more than men. And of course, women journalists are hit 4 to 5 more. We were talking about deepfake. Well, attackers on a female journalist did not wait for these last 2 years to make deepfake or deep porn about women journalists. And of course, now it's rising because the tech are better, with better results, with better capacity to mimic the reality. And of course, there is a high level of concerns about female journalists because they are targeted more. But I want to add something. When we talk about deepfakes, everyone is thinking about pictures or videos. But I want to flag some specific cases that happened last September in Slovakia, in Europe. Journalist Monika Totova, female investigative journalist, has been the victim of a deepfake. But it was an audio tape, a fake audio tape. And actually, fake audios could be really harmful because they are spreading on messaging apps, and it's really, really hard to stop them once they get viral.
Yes. The surge in AI deepfakes is a threat to democracy in poorer countries like Pakistan, particularly, since there's low media literacy, even poor quality AI fakes can be effective, and they can spread a lot of misinformation and disinformation. Similarly, in India, which is supposedly the biggest democracy, social media platforms are breeding grounds for disinformation. How do you think can governments counter this challenge of disinformation to foster stronger democracies without, of course, undermining the benefits of digital media? And like you just mentioned, without banning platforms, what do you think then? What role can governments play?
Yeah, of course, you can solution the problem of this information by banning free speech. It doesn't make any sense. The only solution against this information is to have more information. So you need to support your media, you need to support your journalists, you need to make people able to understand what is a good information, and not in matter of content, but in matter of how it's produced. And of course, this information spreads not only because there is like information all, because there is censorship, because there is propaganda. And so, of course, people want to believe, because I'm not talking just about internal disinformation, but also from external disinformation, from foreign campaigns, for example. And so, of course, it's not only a matter of, it's not just a journalistic problem, it's also a global problem, a society problem. Like
Yeah.
if people are not able to believe what is said online, it's because there is a more global and political problem. And one of the key answer, and this is why we fight for at Reporters Without Borders, is to strengthen journalists, is to allow media to do their job. It's not to put journalists in prison, it's to allow journalists to do their work and to share with the society the real information they are working hard for.
Absolutely. So, Vincent, what about the role of tech companies? What type of innovations or tools which can basically identify fake news and hoax through algorithms and through crowdsourcing? What type of tools do you think they can develop that can be useful for media platforms in particular, since we're talking particularly about journalism here?
Yes, of course, we can think about developing new tools to defeat the problem caused by the old tools. But in the end, it's not just a question of technology. It's also a question of politics and how these platforms are working. Basically, when you are using Instagram, for example, but it's the case for any platforms, information and content is just displayed as a market. Like everyone is allowed to post something, and then, well, everyone fight with each other, and the one who has the more engagement, the higher engagement rate, get the more reach. But this is not how it should work, because if you're a pretty good liar, for example, well, you can have a lot of visibility and a lot of reach. But no, we think that reach should depend on the quality of the author. And for example, on the topics such as politics, such as election, media should have a bonus on their reach.
There are some digital platforms that also, for example, they flag dubious information with disputed news tags. I think that's also a good way to warn readers and viewers about contentious content, because we know that, like you just mentioned, all clickbait, false information it's also profitable due to the revenues and the general brand building that it does. And also, I think educational institutions should focus on news and digital literacy, educating on how to follow a diversity of news sources and authentic news sources, and be skeptical of what the youth read and watch. I thank you, Vincent, for your valuable input. I know you don't have a lot of time on you, so we're just going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for your input. That's all for now. Allah Hafiz and goodbye.